Hello, everybody. Iman from S Group here. I'm here with Ben. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing incredible. So, I've heard a lot about you. I've seen a lot of the big settlements that you've been able to attain for clients. And so we wanted to do this quick interview. How are you doing today?
Good. It was summer here a few days ago, and then we got 6 inches of snow last night. So, what typical upstate New York weather? We had 3 seasons in about 12 hours.
That sounds pretty cool. So I want to ask you, you're a personal injury attorney. Why'd you pick this area of law?
I sort of stumbled into it. I was a public defender the first couple of years after I got out of law school, and the first law firm that I joined after leaving that public defender's office just wanted to start a personal injury department, and they asked me to do it. So I sort of pushed into it. After I left that firm, I went to work for another personal injury firm. I knew the guy there. I liked him. It was really a job choice based on personalities more than the kind of work, but I enjoyed it. I was there for 11 years. Went out on my own 15 years ago to do the same thing because at this point, it's what I've done for so long and what I had done for so long that I really wanted to stick with that. I think that lawyers, like doctors, should really limit what they do to one area. You may have the greatest cardiologist in the world, but you wouldn't ask him to go do brain surgery. And same thing, I think, practice of law. I've done personal injury and really nothing but personal injury for so long that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing anything else at this point.
Okay. And doing that is kind of like eating the same food over and over again for like years and years, right? So you'd have to really love that food. So,
It's
yeah.
true. It is like doing the same thing, but everybody that you help, especially in our line of work, we don't really get repeat customers that often. And so everybody that you help is a different person and it's a new set of problems. And ultimately, one of the reasons that I enjoy this kind of work is because we do get to help people. There are certain practices of law where you have results, you make your client happy, everybody smiles, and you feel really good about it. And that's one of the things with personal injury. People get in these really unfortunate situations and they're struggling both physically and financially and emotionally, and they need someone to help walk them through the process or sometimes make sure that they're not going to be financially ruined. So when we successfully resolve a claim, people's lives get better. They get happy, they get relieved, and they really are thankful. And that makes me feel good. And that's one of the reasons I still do this to this day after almost 30 years, because I really enjoy the smiles on people's faces when we're able to get them a good result.
Wow. Okay. And like, so would you say that those good results plays into a good marketing strategy for you?
Yeah, and we'll talk about the results. I know that people see these giant verdicts on television and the newspapers, and people get $100 million, and that is reported in the news. What's not reported is when you are able to get somebody $700 to fix a bumper that their insurance company refused to pay, or somebody was out of work for a few months and we just needed to get them some lost wages. Those people are equally happy because they were able to get back what they lost as a result of some incident. And so we have a lot of verdicts or settlements that are hundreds or even just a few $1,000s, all the way up to 8-figure resolutions. So you get a lot of satisfaction regardless of the financial outcome. But in terms of marketing, one of the things that I have had to deal with in upstate New York is the advertising lawyers. There's a number of large firms where I am that spend literally millions of dollars on advertising every year. And we don't do that. We are a boutique firm. And so my cases come from really three sources. It's people I've met. It is people that I've represented who tell their friends or family that I should be used. They refer people to me. And then I have some lawyers in the area that don't do personal injury that refer me cases regularly. And we've gotten very good results for those people. And so those lawyers continue to send us cases. So that's our marketing strategy, is do a good job and be nice to people. And so far, 15 years in, we've been very successful.
That's a lot simpler than most of the conferences that I go to. They make it a lot more complex than that. Um, so being a personal injury attorney is a fairly uh, unique career path. So how was your upbringing made you pick that? Like why would you pick that, number one? And like, how
Well,
was your upbringing make you pick that?
I would like to say that it was sort of a path chosen for me by my ancestry. And this is why. My father is a lawyer. He was a law professor at Syracuse University and a practicing lawyer. Both of my grandfathers were very successful lawyers. One of them started his own law firm, retired, and then started another law firm and retired from that one. My second grandfather was a lawyer. Actually, he represented some of the Trump family early on. He became a judge in the highest court of New York. And then three of my four great grandfathers were lawyers. But not one person really pushed me into this profession. What really happened is I was getting ready to graduate from college and scratching my head and thinking, what am I going to do now? Medical school seemed really long and expensive. So I thought, maybe I'll go to law school and see what happens. And it turned out to be great. I really enjoy what I'm doing. And I think it fits my personality and my motivation real well. So I would like to say that it was the family business, and it is, but that's not what put me there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that in you, that you're a very, very caring attorney. So you caring for injured people and people that have been in accidents is the best fit for you. Saying that after talking to you for about 6 minutes, uh, you know. So you've got like what's your typical case settlement? Like what are you settling cases for typically?
Well, I mentioned this a few minutes ago. The range is ridiculous. I mean, like I said, we had an 8-figure settlement a few years ago. Just within the last couple of years, we had a $2 million settlement. But I can tell you that a majority of them are substantially less than that. Partly because not everybody is catastrophically injured, but unfortunately, one of the biggest hurdles we have is that most people who are out there driving cars, hurting my clients, have terrible insurance. So my poor folks get in these crashes that are really devastating, and then the person that caused the crash has crappy insurance, and all of a sudden, I have to tell my clients that, hey, listen, I'm really sorry. We got everything on our side. We got witnesses. We've got the police on our side. We were successful in our fighting with the insurance company. There's just not enough money. And that really is the worst thing probably that's ever happened to me as a lawyer. And I was a public defender for a couple of years. I had a client who went to jail. I felt really bad about it, although in hindsight, that person did deserve to go. So I don't feel that. But I've had people that were financially ruined by crashes through no fault of their own, and there just wasn't any way to get them a financial recovery that they deserved because of the lack of insurance or assets by the person that did it. And that's really the worst part of the job. But getting back to your question, $500, $1,000, sometimes that's what the person deserves, and they wouldn't need me, except insurance companies are so awful. They won't even pay that. So we have to fight for them. And like I said, sometimes it's it's $2 million or it's 8 figures. And so it's really very different. I can tell you that it almost doesn't matter. The thing to me that makes me happy is when my clients are happy. They look at me and go, that's what I wanted. Thank you. And I don't care if it's $6 or 6 million. It really, the joy is getting something done that makes your client happy.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So that's about all the questions I have for you. I mean, this has been an absolutely incredible interview.
Thanks.
I want to ask you, like, you work with your family, your wife, at your firm. Well, how do you say that impacts your kind of the relationship that you guys have with the client, being a boutique firm versus being something as big as Morgan & Morgan? Or
Well, everyone's going to scratch their head and say, well, what do you mean you work with your wife? My wife and I met at our first job. We both graduated from law school about the same time, and we both ended up at the same public defender's office when we got out of law school. We met then. We got together romantically a few years after that, and so she's also a lawyer. She was home raising the 4 kids for a while, but now that they're old enough to be on their own, she's come to work. And the way that we make it work is that we just separate our responsibilities. So my wife does all of the bookkeeping and all of the insurance and the office management, and I do the litigation and the client involvement. And then we do have an employee. We have a paralegal / secretary, but it works out great because you really don't trust anybody as much as you can trust your spouse. And so she and I are really comfortable that each of us is doing what needs to be done. But on the other hand, we also have a second set of eyes to look over our shoulder and make sure that everything's going properly. But no, it's great. And, we drive to work together. We get to come home together. So it's a nice thing. You got to like your spouse in order for this to work. But fortunately, we get along well enough that it works.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pull it off, but and as far as going back to marketing, have you actually participated in traditional marketing methods?
For 15 years we have. Yeah, the very first year I was in, we bought billboards and TV commercials and radio commercials, and we kept track very carefully where our cases came from. And it was pretty clear that, at least for us, was not where our cases came from. And so we slowly cut back on that. And I have found over the years that for me, the cases are, again, people I know, people who know clients I've represented, and from lawyers. However, we have slowly started to get some traction in the social media and online presence. So we have been increasing our budget a little bit to do more online search engine optimization. Twitter and Instagram and Facebook seem to actually now drive some sources to us. So I think we will get back to a little more paid marketing, but it'll be through social media platforms and an online presence rather than the old school TV commercials. Because I don't think anybody watches that stuff anymore. I mean, I do only because I like to see what other lawyers are doing on TV, but I kind of giggle every time I see one of those commercials because I think, who's really going to call their lawyer based on a TV commercial? So I think the online is going to be the future, and that's where we're starting to work towards. We want to really get a presence there.
That's amazing. And that's actually the whole, purpose and reason behind this company that's putting out this video at the S Group. Look, Ben, I appreciate your time. Where can they find you if, I'm injured in upstate New York?
Yeah, upstate New York, we handle throughout most of New York, and it's rabinlawfirm.com, or I kind of focus on motorcycle and bicycle cases. That's a little more than half of what we do. So you can search Ben Rabin Bike Lawyer and you'll find some information about me. I do ride motorcycles and I do race bicycles. So if you find me through one of those channels, yes, it is me. It's just sometimes I go out and do other crazy things. But yeah, rabinlawfirm.com, Ben Rabin Bike Lawyer, upstate New York.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Take care.